Hi, I'm Stephen Ham from Archery Supplies. Today we're going to review the new limbs from Win and Win Archery or Wireless Archery. These are the MX-10 limbs. These are newly designed from Win and Win, and they've got more reflex on the limbs. So they're meant to be a bit smoother through the clicker than your NSG limbs in the past, and they've got some design features with them. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to test them. We're going to put them through a chronograph and see how they come. So they come in a package like this. You've got your wristband there, which is terribly important. It's got Born to Win written on it. This is what you really want if you're getting the limbs. What always amazed me, so this is a multi-tool, so you definitely want that. I'm not joking. These would be really useful when you're out on the field. We're going to look at that. I asked some of my staff, I was like, why do people change recurve limbs? Because you don't really shoot much better. But it's one of the parts you can upgrade. So like, I want to upgrade the poundage of my limbs. I want to build up. So you got a set of pliers, Allen keys, stabilizer wrench, screwdriver. Pretty much everything you will need to work on your bow is in this kit. Awesome. Like Win and Win should be selling these outside of the bow, I think, because yeah, they look fantastic. So I'm very happy with that. Now, I've owned Win and Win limbs and owned Win and Win bows for a number of years, and I've tried other bows. I'm not going to say one's better, one's worse. What Win and Win is, they've got bows from the bottom end of town, from beginner level right up to the elite. And when it came to the Olympics, you saw Win and Win pretty much clean the floor with everyone else. There was a whole bunch of Fivix bows there. I saw some Yucca bows. I saw a couple of MK bows and some Hoyts. But Win and Win really cleaned up at the Olympics, and as a huge credit to them. So let's look at these limbs. Now, what I really liked about these limbs was the finish. Win and Win do an amazing finish. They do amazing paint work on their bows, and their pricing is pretty good. So it starts off here, it's all nice and shiny, and then it goes matte there. That looks amazing. I don't know how they do it. Graphics looks great. So I love the black there. I mean, the artwork, I've owned so many Win and Win bows, and when I sell them, I generally sell them when I upgrade. I look back on my old Win and Wins and I go, geez, I wish I kept that bow. I owned a TFT, which is awesome. I own a Win and Win Nano Max, which I'm pretty sure has been shot down in Melbourne. They're just such beautiful bows, and I always kick myself after I sell them. Now these limbs, slightly different design. Now what Win and Win said is they put more recurve in, so they should build a little bit more at the start. They should be a bit easier to pull through the clicker. And they shouldn't be quite as quick off the fingers as my NSG limbs. So I'm really interested to see what these feel like. So what we're going to do is we're going to fit these to my Win and Win bow, the AXT, and give them a go. Okay, so I've set up the MXT. Okay, so I've set up the MXT-10 limbs. They look beautiful. They clip in so easily into this riser. Sometimes when you get new limbs and you try to clip them in the riser, they're really hard to fit in, and they kind of take a bit of work to get a groove into that riser. These just clipped in, absolutely beautiful. They look with the red riser, and if you watch any of my videos, you generally see I stick with red and black themes. That way I don't have to change stuff. But look, they look great. So now I reviewed yesterday the Yucca limbs, because obviously I'm looking at upping my poundage and checking speeds and all that. So what we're going to do is compare the draw cycle of these and the NSGs and the Yuccas. So up at the start of this draw cycle, you can feel it's not as heavy as your Yuccas. Your Yucca limbs start very heavy in the draw cycle. This definitely feels like more like the NSGs and maybe a little bit heavier in this draw cycle at the start. Well, that was fast. That was 226. I'm impressed with that. So the Yukas did 221. These are 44 pounds, 68 inch. That's a really impressive speed. Let's just shoot another one. .222. Still an impressive speed. Okay, so I feel like the Yukas are probably a touch smoother at the back wall when you get hitting your anchor point. The NSGs feel more solid at the back wall than these, which is what they're meant to. And I feel more finger pressure on my NSGs than these at full draw at anchor point. Okay, so when you're trying out new limbs and you're trying out tune, don't go back too far, because sometimes if your tune is out, you'll miss the target. So I'm about 10 meters away from the target, and we're just going to sort of see where these arrows hit, and we're going to just have a feel of the shot. So the string's not hitting my arm. That's a good sign. Now, if your arrows are hitting the bow, you can see the little black mark there. That hit was from the Yuka limb that I tried yesterday. The arrows were kicking to the left a little bit. With these limbs, these look like the arrows are shooting dead straight at the target. Now what I've got to say, my accountant came into work today and was going through some of my book work with me and some of the just accounting stuff with me about, you know, what I'm doing and stuff. Now he's an archer and he's a recurve archer, and he said to me, I'm doing 100 arrows in the morning between 6 o'clock and 7:30 with his son. And what I like about archery and competition and having friends who do archery is that encourages you to do the same. So I'm like, well, if he's doing 100 arrows and his 11-year-old son's doing 100 arrows a day, I better start getting my butt into gear and doing the same. In fact, it reminds me when I used to go to the gym every morning at 6 o'clock. So I used to go with a friend from work every morning at 6 o'clock. I was in Canberra, and as much as I wanted to sit in bed, because it was freezing, it was literally freezing every morning. There was ice all over my car. I didn't want to go to the gym, but I thought, well, he's going to be there, so I better go, because otherwise, you know, you're letting down a mate. So kind of drags your ass there. And archery's the same. If you've got other people and they're working, then it makes you feel like you better work as well. Look, I'm finding these limbs. So these limbs are heavier than my NSGs. I'm finding them smoother as to get through the clicker. It's like substantially smoother. So this is my bare shaft. So if this is roughly tuned, this should hit those other arrows there in the middle. I don't know where that went. I'm guessing it's somewhere in the middle. So on one of the forums I saw someone say that archery clubs are elitist. Actually, that's not what I see. What I see is I see a lot of people down there who love sports, they've got friends down there, it's a social outing for them, and it's something they do to relax. And they might only shoot once a week. And you think, well, if you're at a club, you're going to be a good shot. You'll generally find a club of maybe, let's say it's got 200 archers, might have 2 archers who train a lot. You might have 1 archer in the club who trains a lot. You might have none who train a lot. There's very few, I'm going to say, elite archers, and that's not to do with being elitist, but I can understand that coming to a club, you may feel excluded. But a lot of that is just people don't know you. So, you know, they've got their thing they do every Saturday or every Sunday at a set time. They shoot with the same people. And you being new into the club, you just haven't got to meet people yet. So you haven't formed those bonds to shoot with people. Like, I've been at Adelaide Archery Club now for 8 years, and I know a lot of people down there now. So I'm kind of, I don't shoot down there much, but I'm kind of accepted now as a member of the club, if that makes any sense at all. Look, I'm liking, and yes, this is 10 meters, but I'm liking the group. It's nice and together. The draw's easy for me. The punch doesn't feel too heavy. To me, this is something I could work with. So what I'm wanting to do is shoot 100 arrows a day and then build up. So let's go and check those arrows out. Okay, so up here at the target, you can see the bear shaft is smack in the middle. Like, it's fantastic. And I think part of this, like, all those arrows are pointed straight back at me. I think these limbs are so similar to the NSG in the way they perform that my tune was the same as my NSG. Bit smoother to get through the clicker, a little bit heavier, but these arrows are basically fine, they're spot on, I don't have to change anything. With the Yucca video I did, which was only yesterday, there was something with the tune which wasn't quite right. And you can see with this, already with this video, the arrows are pretty close to the middle of the target. With the Yucca, they were further out to the left. So there was something not quite, there was something I had to change with the tuning on the Yucca limbs compared to the wireless limbs. So overall, we're going to shoot some 18 meters now, because I think my sight settings are going to be the same. See how they shoot. But so far, I think they're pretty sweet. Okay, so I'm back at 18 meters and we're ready to give this a go. Now, the major thing with recurve archery is to get your form correct, because this is all about aligning your body correctly and doing the same shot over and over again. So you've got to get your body correct and you've got to build the muscle. Compound is a lot easier. You want to get a good release. We're not going to shoot the bear shaft first off. Now, in the last 2 years, I've been shooting a fair bit of compound. And people are going to say, well, that's because you've turned 50 and you're going to shoot in the Masters and trying to pick an easier division. Actually, I've been busy with that move, and COVID has just made the business extremely busy, and I just haven't had time to practice that I normally would with the recurve. But I'm still really keen to shoot a recurve. I find the recurve a lot more challenging. Like, I've got to build the strength, I've got to build technique. I just feel like I've got to work a lot harder with the recurve. Now, one of my staff, Joel, has just changed to recurve from compound, and he had his first win on the weekend in the field shoot. So he won his first men's open recurve championship, which was filled, and he was over the moon. And that's what you want. You want to put in the work. Like, you just don't want to win for the sake of winning, right? You don't want to turn up to a shoot, be the only person there and take home the medal. You want to have to put in the work and then the work to pay off. Now this is interesting. I think the arrows are to the left of the target from what I can sort of see. Now that would indicate that the spine is a little bit weaker, or these limbs are a little bit heavier than my last one. But that doesn't really worry me. I'm interested in what the grip looks like. You can see I'm shaking around it a bit. When I first came here to South Australia 8 years ago, I shot in a tournament, and I was beaten every year by the same archer, by Justin. He would whip the first year he whipped me by a lot in points. The next year he beat me by, let's say, 20. I don't know how much he beat me by, but he beat me. And I think on the third attempt I beat him. But man, I had to work my butt off. I was shooting 4 hours a day just to kind of get to that point. So it wasn't so much the winning, it was about the amount of work which went in and how much I had to improve my archery to get there. And that's what I'd like to do with a recurve. I'd like to put the work in and see, well, how far could I progress? And it's not about shooting against someone. I'm going to stress this. The competitions are not about shooting someone. Why you do a competition is it's added pressure in a competition. That's, I'm going to say justification. It's the pinnacle. If you can perform well in a competition, then you can perform well at home. So you put the work in at home, then you go and shoot the competition to show that you can do it. I wish those arrows were closer together. And now I'm fatiguing. I can feel the shoulder lifting. I can still feel my wobbles hitting. Literally, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to feel the pressure of this bow. I wanted to feel the strain. And now what I want to see with these new limbs, is it going to be easier to pull through the clicker, given the fact that I'm already fatiguing? Look, yes, it probably is easier to pull through the clicker, but my body's hurting at this stage. So when you're like looking at poundage of limbs and what you're going to go to, I always say if it's too much to start with, you build up slowly. This is the same as doing weightlifting. So if you shoot 3 arrow ends or 4 arrow ends, that's all you can manage, that's all you do. The next week you might shoot 4 arrow ends or 5 arrow ends. You gradually build it up. I mean, if you have to stop after 60 arrows, stop after 60 arrows. But this does not mean you sacrifice your technique. Like, I don't want to feel this shoulder lifting. It just doesn't sound as good in the target. I've been shooting this bulldog target now for a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and I haven't moved the target face, so it's in the exact same spot as where I did the review, and I can show you how much damage it's done, but it's pretty good where these arrows are not hitting that same spot, so it's making more noise when it hits the target. Alright, let's go and have a look. Okay, so this group is rough. Like it's rough. Now there's some decent arrows in there, but it's rough. Look, it's better than I shot with the Yukas at 18 meters last night. But it's still rough. And I'm rather disappointed by it. Rather disappointed. I was rather happy at 10. I was like, oh, this is going well. 18 meters should be a cinch. Oh, look at that. Just rubbish. Now, from this, what I'm going to take is the height's pretty good. I'm getting left to right movement, so this is on the release. So my release is not good here. And this is what Win and Win is talking about, the stability of the release. So because I'm not feeling as much pressure through the fingers, I've got to work on getting this release better. So, like the limbs, I feel like what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with these limbs for a bit now. I'm going to throw 100 arrows a day down range, and sort of see how they go. I didn't shoot the bear shaft test, which at 18 meters, which I would have liked to do. So I'm going to shoot these limbs for a few weeks. By that stage, my NSG limbs will be back, because I've lent them to one of my staff members. And then I can compare the NSGs to the MX-10s. I really like the look of these MX-10s. They look awesome. So that grouping I'm not completely happy with. Now that doesn't mean to blame the equipment. I'm not blaming the equipment. I'm blaming myself. I'm saying I've got to work on my technique, and I was saying I was fatiguing. So I'm going to work on that, and that's what I needed a bow to be able to work on my strength, and I want to put down that 100 arrows a day. So with that, I'm going to say for a beginner, the limbs are not going to make a lot of choice, not going to make a lot of difference. For your elite archer, it's just the feel of what you like or what you like the look of. Now I'm going to say I've sold 2 of these sets of limbs so far. And I think they were both sold based on colour. Now Andrew's probably going to say, no, I chose them because they match the MX bow he brought. And the other guy who brought them also has got exactly the same black MX bows. So I'm going to say you brought them because they match on colour. Because if the limbs were green, you wouldn't have brought them. Right? So that's my view. Now saying that, Andrew won the Nationals in Masters. I'm pretty sure he won. He did really, really well. He put these limbs on his bow, and on his first shoot, he shot his personal best by about 9 points for an indoor round, which is a huge improvement. So it doesn't really... So what I see here doesn't really worry me that much. I would have preferred it to be better, but I'm kind of comfortable with it because I haven't shot the recurve for a few days, and I want to build up that whole strength thing again. But overall, hope that's been useful. If you can, if you can draw back a limb before you buy, if you've got a mate in the club who's got some limbs who'll let you try them, that's good. But for me, I just like the look of the limb, and I'm happy with pretty much any limb. I've liked all the limbs I've shot, and my scores, if you've been watching my videos over a number of years, I've shot a number of bows from a number of brands, and I shoot about the same scores with all of those bows. I wish I shot more with different bows. I wish if I spent some more money, I would have shot more points, but it's not the case. The only way I'm going to score more points is to shoot more. And that's my plan. So maybe we'll do a review in a couple of weeks and see how I'm finding these limbs and see if these groups tighten up a bit. I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. I hope that's been helpful. Thanks for watching.